Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatītam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasyadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatītam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru is Brahma, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Utpatti Prakarana, section 91. The entire world process is the creation of the mind. The world explained in the terms of mental projection, a big cinema show. Rama. Well, Rama is in every scene, but you don't see him. And your goal is not to be captivated by Rama. Go after Rama. See the reality behind all the projections. The world you live in is based on your mental projections. All the time you are not yourself. You define yourself on the basis of what your mind tells you. And the mind has ego level. Ego is the one who brings out the knowledge. This is what you are. Say, I have practiced sadhana, I'm a great personality. I said, oh no. Miserable person. I'm joking. But your mind has complete freedom to say whatever it likes. But leading you to understand that you face all your life based on your mental interpretations. And in everyday life, when you go to sleep, you go beyond your mind. And you don't miss all the mental projections, all the mental imaginations, mental views, mental ideas, mental concepts. That's what had kept you so busy all through the life. And that goes away. Rama is gone. And you only thing happens that ignorance doesn't go away by your sleeping. Otherwise, instead of coming to ashrams, go to medical stores, get sleeping pills. I'm joking. The last story that was told to you was Indu and Ahalya. Ahalya was the queen of King Indradyumna's wife. And she had studied in the Puranas the story of how Ahalya was infatuated for a while, for a short duration, with Indra. And there happened to be a young man, Indra, in her capital city. And both became deeply involved in an infatuated love. And the king wanted to correct their wrong relationship. Subjected them, both of them, Indu and Ahalya, to various torments. But they continued. And when king asked, what is the secret that have thrown you into fire, drowned into water and all that? He said, because secret is the mutual love, the profound love that, I'm using profound only allegorically. It's intense infatuation. And then the king thinks of adopting the most dynamic method that he could think of. He approaches a sage, Bharata, and Bharata is pronounced as a curse. And both of them burns into ashes, right by the curse. But prior to burning, Indu Brahmana says that all this will stop by body, our bodies. But we are not just bodies. We will continue. All your action has been stupid. And the story goes on that they incarnate as deer in the forest, and dearly beloved things they do. And they go through many embodiments, including human embodiments. And they are still continuing to go on doing it. See the power of love. This is a very humorous way of giving parables. The profounder way of giving parable was the story of Prahlad. Prahlad loved God. His father, Hiranyakashipu, didn't want him to love God. Taught him that his father was greater than God. So why to go after God? You want to love God, love Father. Subjected him to a lot of tortures. Fire, water, being crushed by elephant and so many things. And Prahlad goes on surviving. I will not go into that story, but in the end, God manifesting as man, lion, destroyed Hiranyakashipu. That was the real description of profound love. That type of love one has to develop, love of God. And not to be afraid of all the challenges that have been described, thrown into water, thrown into fire. All your challenges are based upon elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Earth-related challenge means something that makes stuck to lesser plane. You can't get up. You are drawn by, pulls you down into a very crude state. You become, what people say, earthling. Earthling. Linga stop is installed on the earth of yogi. Water element, the expression of living your life with so many types of fascinating things you go after. You flow like water. Kal, kal, chal, chal. Fire element, you become incensed. Sometimes incense is good. Too incensed, you start burning yourself up. and Akasha element. Akasha means makes you spacious. So if it makes you spacious, you begin to dance. But your dance can be two types. Spiritual type of dance, bring thrill in your heart. Or you are dancing because the earth is full of fire. So no choice. So all these elements are constantly operating in your life, day by day. And if you have devotion to God, that devotion is not shaken, rather strengthened by all these challenges. On the other hand, if you have not been led on the right path through satsanga, then you are choosing the path followed by Indu Ahalya story. You follow your own fascination, own illusion of love. And you become so engrossed. How it's engrossed depends upon your austerity. How long you have faced these challenges without shaking from your illusory attachment. That also is an austerity. You've made up your mind, I will feel miserable. God sent you beautiful breeze, wonderful sunshine, gentle rain. No. Shut the door. Nothing of this. Misery. And Brahma said, all right. That's what you get. Nothing in you will shake you from being drawn to misery. See the power of love. So that's the moral behind the story. The entire universe exists sustained by the magic of the mind. Yoga's chitta vritti. Chitta vritti nirodha. All the world process is based on chitta vritti, thought waves. And in Puranic language, big Sheshnag with 1,000 hoods. And the entire universe is sitting on those hoods. Students studying science say, how dull-witted they were. They thought the whole universe sits on a snake. But this is allegorical language. Thought waves, they are described as the hoods of the snake. And all mental energy and deep down spiritual energy is described as a big snake, Kundalini. I will not go into that detail at this stage. So in brief, all world experience is a mental projection. And when a mind is negated, the universe ceases to exist. Universe is called samsara. Samsara means a magical deviation, magical refraction created in Brahman. Sanskriti, called deviation. Just as one might see one's own death in a dream, so the self perceives the world process within itself as a mere illusion. Given very simple illustrations, easy to understand. You have won a lottery of $1 million. And the very same day you go to sleep, and in your sleep, You find all your $1,000,000 have been stolen. And not only that, the robber has put his gun, shot your neck. It's very crude. Who could be more miserable? And then we woke up and you find that just a few mosquitoes were jumping about your nose. Nothing had happened. But when we were dreaming, there was nothing to cool down that misery. Exactly the same way the world experience is. And that's a profoundly scientific fact. Well, how do you experience the world? Through your nervous system. It's a little iPhone. Not the small eye, it's a big eye. The ego is the root cause of the illusory objectivity that arises in consciousness. Ego implies what happens, you're moving away from your real identity. Who am I? The real I am drops away from your view. And illusory I am emerges. And that becomes the nucleus, the center of all your world experience. Ego-based. And when you begin to ask the question, that's what Vedanta says, inquire, who am I? And all religions go on this, putting your attention towards, I am that. This I am is not the body, not the mindset, not what is projected by your mind. The I am is the absolute self. All illuminations of the sun, they may all look like sun, but they are not the sun. The I am, the sun I am is a little I, the iPad I'm referring to. The reality is big I, without the pad. If this ego is dissolved by knowledge, the world is seen as Brahman. And ego dissolves in gradual stages. Gradual stages are given in a more broad way, 3 stages. Mala, gross impurities, mind that is constantly under the control of lower self, anger, hate, greed. That mala is removed by karma yoga. Next obstacle you face, subtle desires, vasanas existing in your subconscious. They are the basis of your feelings. So even though you live happily in the world, internally you continue to store karkati feelings, feelings of misery and torture and misery and lots of negative feelings. That is removed by devotion to God. So if you bring karma yoga, bhakti and dhyana both together is called upasana, devotion to God and meditation. Then ego begins to undergo a change. change occurs if you can focus on three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. In the beginning, think of you're moving in the world with a big magical stick in your hand, and that stick is supporting your whole process. And that stick has three diseases, three troubles. Mala, it is extremely opaque. So the moment you hold this stick before you, you can't see anything more than just this stick. Sticking to this stick. That's the first worldly level of life. If you go through purifying by karma yoga, that obscurity begins to dissolve. But now the stick is not completely crystal clear. It has a it has a kind of a basis for refracting your vision. So you're holding your stick, and the stick makes you feel that you can go any direction. Everything has its own color. That's called viksepa, distraction. However, it is a better state. Your ego has changed from being obscure completely to now getting little transparency. If sattva develops, the transparency goes into higher level. That's a very broad way to understand. Coming back to simple understanding, as bhakti enters your personality, devotion to God, your ego learns the importance of surrender, bowing down to God. If ego surrenders, and its rigid spine becomes a little softer. Now that's called process of ego effacement. Every mantra is meant to urge you to develop that type of humility. In Hindi or Sanskrit literature, it is described as vinaya. You are bowing down to God. And final effacement comes by jnana. First, to allow ego to be effaced, bows down, humbled. Next stage, it simply disappears. When the truth blends with illusion, the process of purification is needed to negate the illusion and reveal the truth. However, this process cannot be adopted until you have developed certain qualifications. Section 92, dealing with the power of the mind. Vasistha says to Rama, the efforts of the body are ineffectual, but the efforts of the mind are real efforts. To understand simple point, your profounder enrichment in your personality is not based upon how many things you can just do, the quantitative display of your activity, but on the basis of your change in your bhavana, feeling. And change in feeling comes by your mental attitude. So if mind is not presenting a positive attitude, or an attitude of what's called open-mindedness, to learn lessons, the mind is not adopting that stage, and you are just busy doing so many things. All your activities, from advanced point of view, are ineffective. Ineffective means you are not gaining anything substantial. But when you do, where mind becomes involved with feeling, think of, I will give you crude illustrations, easy to understand. In business, you come to realize that you have to give money to your inimical client. And you give them all the money. But your inner feeling has no positivity about it. On the other hand, your beloved baby comes to you and give you a spoonful of butter. And your feeling in your heart shines. I'm just giving you the magic of feeling. See how it is feeling-based experience that's really your experience that is enriching you. But all activities that do not touch your feeling, just leave you as you are in your feeling level, in your thinking level, then all activities are just like being involved in it, externalized actions. Like a drunken person having become drunk, does so many things. And later you ask, did you do this? I don't know. Whatever the mind fondly thinks of, that becomes its reality. The physical body may be thrown into marshy land or burnt in fire, but the mental body continues to exist and continues to pursue its objective. Simple point is given that death is not the answer to terminate all your problems. The death puts an end to your physical body, but you are not just physical body. Your physical personality is your iPhone, iPad. One iPad is thrown, the soul will get another iPad. Led by karmas. Vasanas rinani yatha vihaya, the Gita says, Krishna says, just like old clothes are thrown away, new clothes, everyone, when your cloth has become very old or torn, or if you don't like it, you throw it, take another one. Similarly, your soul goes on adopting bodies. Bodies are like clothes. And when soul's purpose doesn't match with the body, then kicks the bucket and moves to another. That's the reality behind it. The reality doesn't care for your emotions. The results of self-effort are given through the mind. In fact, only the mind can bless or curse itself. The idea behind it is, if you feel that blessing or curse is coming from outside, and you don't have to do anything, all that you have to do is to get the blessing. If you think that way, you will not succeed. So only when you are prepared that blessing becomes effective. You must realize that in the story of Krishna and Rama, each one came into contact with so many people. But all those people didn't become enlightened. So enlightened people were very counted few. So in other words, the idea that someone will, you don't have to do any sadhana, but go into Google and find who is the person who can give you enlightenment. That attitude is entirely wrong. Thereby you are insulting your own potentiality. That somebody you are constantly dependent upon an outer source for your fulfillment. This whole attitude means you are not recognizing your own dignity. In brief, spiritual movement is focused on purushartha. Everyone must exercise the self-effort. While you do the self-effort, here again you have to be careful. One should not develop the idea now, since I am the only one responsible. I will not seek anybody's help. If you do that, it's a child. You have not understood. It's a kindergarten type of thing. Whole world is open for you based upon your quality of your soul. In other words, if you have done good purushartha, say it in a very simple way, if you have opened your windows, swept your floor, removed the cobwebs, the blessings will come through all the windows. And you will enjoy it. But how did you get those blessings? Because you did the self-effort of cleaning, opening the window. If you didn't do the self-effort, all that wouldn't happen. Putting it another way, if you start doing your self-effort in the right way, you will find inspiration through your loving relations. You will find opportunities that will allow you to be more generous, more kind, more magnanimous. All the situations and circumstances will develop on the basis of your inner movement. Your inner movement is not determined by outer source, determined by your source. That's the basic point to understand. But while it is your inner movement, that doesn't mean that you will not be helped by others. But you are being helped by others only because you have exercised your effort to deserve all that help. So just like you make yourself the recipient of blessing, you also make yourself recipient for curse. If you have moved definitely negatively, then we'll find the Durvasa will curse you. And put it in another way, if you are highly advanced, you are not dependent upon blessings and curses of people. Nobody, no outer help is needed. You are receiving the blessings of God. Again, each statement of mine can be misinterpreted. Never for a moment develop egocentricity. That now I don't have to bow down to my superiors. Only God. That's not the meaning behind it. Meaning is to understand that God is behind all your relations. If they bless you, blessing is coming from God. Therefore, advanced aspirants and yogis do not abandon their mental movement towards the divine self. That is to say, their bhakti, devotion to God, Godward movement, even during adverse circumstances. Just as arrows cannot pierce impervious rocks, so worldly miseries cannot affect a mind that has attained one-pointed concentration. Mind has developed focus on God. Then all the negative forces, it will become like a big rock, mystic rock. And all the negative arrows that are directed towards it, they become blunt, move away. Same thing brought into Jako Rakhe Sanya Mari na sake hain koe. Become devoted to God, and God are under God's protection. You cannot be hurt even if the whole world is against you. Not to the extent even to touch one hair of your body, not to pinch. You remain absolutely untouched. That's the big, profound reality. That devotion to God and faith developing within your heart should allow you to become inwardly secure. Just like a baby is secure under the protection of mother. If one is vigilant and has vivek buddhi, discriminative intellect, then he is never affected by the taints of the world process. The idea is, live in the world, but don't be affected by the world. Be enriched by the world. What does that mean? If you live, you always face adversity and prosperity. Adversity brings a lot of happiness. But along with the happiness comes a longing to have a happiness. You want to go to a higher level of joy. You are happy. Now my mind develops, how happy am I? And if I get 10 times more, how happier will I be? I'm giving you kind of riddle. The idea is prosperity and adversity go on creating raga and dvesha. Raga, attachment; dvesha, hatred. And raga and dvesha, they become the basis of your karmas. You cannot get away from your karmas. So if your vision is not discriminative, viveka has not entered, then you are constantly being tainted, affected by raga, dvesha, attachment and hatred. You are constantly being led by karma. But when you develop discriminative vision, which allows your ego to go through self-effacement by bhakti, devotion, and ultimately complete effacement by jnana. When you adopt that, then you are not restricted by worldly taints. Worldly taints mean karmic process. Karmas are kind of a taint. Whatever the mind perceives as reality becomes one's reality. You must realize reality is not what your mind has developed a kind of sense of conviction. Here this has to be handled again in two ways. If you are immature, then you are always diffident. That's not the moral of this. That's not the teaching. Do not be diffident. But at the same time, keep your mind open to higher understanding. Certain things you have understood with clarity and conviction. Now don't stay back, say, I have attained enlightenment. This is what the Upanishad says. Sahajavastha. I've attained Chakraveda of Kundalini. The Sahasrara chakra has opened, and I'm completely the first class enlightened sage that ever was. That should not develop. You must understand spiritual movement is boundless. Your mind has to develop complete flexibility without losing your self-confidence. And that's sattvic movement. When you lose your self-confidence, then you try to supplement it by what's called darp, conceit. And when you when your self-confidence is unshaken and move forward, then instead of darp, you gain darpana. Darpana means mind becomes pure, it reveals your face. You are Satchidananda. Darp, no. Darp is arrogance. And you see your face clearly in purified mind, that arrogance will not be there. That's the purpose of having darpana, mirror before you. It is Sanskrit word darpan. See your face. Realize darp doesn't define you. You are Ananda already. Humble yourself. The mind is capable of creating different thought forms, just as a potter molds different shapes and sizes out of clay. Whatever mind creates and all the names and forms the mind brings out, they are clay pots. And what is the clay? Consciousness. Pure consciousness. All the show that you see on the screen, countless names, forms, they are clay pots. And what the clay? Screen. It is screen that is behind all those pictures, etc., and all these things that you see. Brahman is behind all that you experience. The Brahman is the clay. And all these are clay pots. And Ishvara is the potter. The deep-rooted vasanas can be altered by intensive mental concentration in the present. Don't worry about the vasanas that you have gathered in the past. Start your self-effort. And there is another important point to understand. If your self-effort joins with grace, all the vasanas can become transformed or can be put to end. Just like you open a window, light comes in, no matter how long darkness had existed in your room, you have left the room ignored for years, for a yuga, 12 years. Now, the moment you open, all the darkness goes. In creating karmas, there is a mathematical study behind it. How much karmas have I done? But when you're moving towards God realization, removal of vasanas, that does not follow that mathematical precision. Karmas come under mathematical precision. But moving to enlightenment, all that mathematical precision moves away. In other words, it doesn't depend upon how many bad karmas you have done in the past. Not only that, even the scriptures give you people who have been thieves and robbers. Even sage Valmiki, who is one of the greatest sages, the whole author of the Yoga Vasistha, he was not afraid of putting his biography. He was a terrible, a murderous thief. And he turned himself into absolutely enlightened person. So, the power of light is beyond your imagination. The past should not become a source of vexation or a stress. How much you can move into your present and move towards God, that's important. Led by negative samskaras, the mind perceives fires emanating from the moon and is afflicted thereby. It perceives a dense forest in the vastness of the sky and tries to clear the forest. It's all allegorical way of saying that you have negative impressions, ashubha samskaras, dominating your mind, then all the positive things that are there in the world, poetic language, even you look at the moon and all the nectarine rays that shower from the moon, and you shut the door to the moon, it fills your heart with misery. How does it happen? Figure that out. People who are in a state of dejection, under stress, psychological reaction to the moon is strange. The same moon brings to human mind intense stress. That's why mind and moon, and mental trouble is ludatico. And Shiva alone can resolve it by putting the moon on his battered locks. He doesn't allow the moon to wax. He has locked it up. All miseries of the world, all troubles, they are due to mental illusion. Firstly, to understand, your mind acts like the moon. Moon doesn't have real light. And therefore, when mind that is not advanced and it acts like the moon, then all your experiences are completely illusory. That being gripped by that type of moon is a miserable condition. That grip of the moon has to be corrected. In Ganesh Chaturthi, you will hear Ganesha strikes his tusk on that moon, and still the moon carries the mark. On the other hand, pure mind is also compared to the moon in a positive way. Therefore, all great personalities, they are qualified by moon. Rama, Ramachandra. Chandra is moon. What does it imply? Your mind becomes so purified that God, who is the sun, shines through your mind and you become reflector of God's light, not distorter of God's light. Only thing you distort is God's mighty power hold back. Moon gives only the gentle radiations, because God's power is behind everything in the world, moving the whole earth, creating volcanoes, all that is under God's power. But all that power is held back. But gentle grace comes. That's the purpose of Guru Purnima. Purnima, full moon, mind that allows itself to be illumined by the light of God. Ego moves away and mind is filled with divine wisdom. Then that mind becomes the basis of inspiring good culture and is inspiration for humanity for all times. Led by its own impressions, it converts poison into nectar. Behold how camels enjoy thorny bushes. Just giving you one sample, that vasanas of the mind, they give you the taste that you experience. No one likes to eat thorny things, but look, camels enjoy them. The lesson you learn is that no one wants worldly miseries. Be a camel. With Godward mind, all thorny things become delicate things. The world is not a source of misery, it is a source of inspiration. Your adversity, your prosperity, both are enriching yours. But that's the broader understanding. The message is not to go on creating adversity for yourself. That will come by itself. Go on working for bringing health, harmony, peace. Bring your self-effort in that direction. But at the same time, be ready not to be shaken by challenging situations, because God loves you and He wants to be strong and qualified for a higher ascent. He's not satisfied by keeping you in a pocket-sized edition. He wants you to grow up. I brought in lots of jokes. So, with this we conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.